Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrit, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, verse number 66. We will be continuing our reading from Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhete Girim Yat Kripatamham Bande Shri Gurum Din Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat. प्रभु कहे एहो बाह्य आगे कह आर, राय कहे ज्ञान शून्य भक्ति साध्य सार. After hearing this, the Lord as usual rejected it, considering it to be external devotion service. He again asked Rāmānanda Rāya to speak further, and Rāmānanda Rāya replied, pure devotional service without any touch of speculative knowledge is the essence of perfection. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In his Anubhashya commentary, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that this stage devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge is also external and not within the jurisdiction of pure devotional service as practiced in Vaikuntha Lok. As soon as there is some conception of materialistic thought, be it positive or negative, the service is not spiritual. It may be free from material contamination, but because there is mental speculation, the devotional service is not pure and freed from the contamination of material life. A living entity who wants to be completely pure must be above this material conception. The negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. After material existence is negated, spiritual existence, namely Satchid Anand, still may not be manifested. Until one comes to the stage of actually understanding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, he cannot enter into spiritual life. Spiritual life means becoming detached from material life and engaging in the loving service of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu therefore asked Rāmānanda Rāya to explain something transcendental to devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge. A pure devotee is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and only by his love does he conquer Krishna, who cannot be conquered by anyone. Krishna always stands victorious over everything. No one can conquer him. One can attain the stage of pure devotion simply by fully surrendering. This is next corroborated by Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.3, wherein Lord Brahma, defeated by the potency of Shri Krishna, fully surrendered unto the Lord. Verse 67. Jnane prayasam udpasya namant eva jivanti san mukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthitah shruti gatam tanuvan manobhir ye prayasho Ajita Jito Api Asitai Stri Lokyam. Rāmānanda Rāya continued, Lord Brahma said, my dear Lord, those devotees who have thrown away the impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truth should hear from self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and animal slaughter. Surrendering themselves fully with body, words, and mind, they can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you are conquered by such persons, although you are always unconquerable. Verse 68. Prabhu kahe eho haya Aage kahe aara, Rāya kahe prema bhakti sarva sadhya sara. At this point, Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu replied, this is all right, but still you can speak more on the subject. Purport. Rāmānanda Rāya then replied, ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the essence of all perfection. In his Amrit Prabha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes the conversation up to this point, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to Rāmānanda Rāya, Eho hai aage kah aara. This is the process accepted in devotional service. But there is something more than this. Therefore, please explain what is beyond. Simply executing the duties of all varnas and ashramas is not as good as offering all the results of one's activity to the Lord. When one gives up all fruitive activity and fully surrenders to the Lord, he attains Swadharma Tyaga, wherein he abandons the social order and takes to the renounced order. That is certainly better. However, better than the renounced order is cultivation of knowledge mixed with devotional service. Yet all these activities are external to the activities of the spiritual world. There is no touch of pure devotional service in them. Pure devotional service cannot be attained by empiric philosophy, nor can perfection be attained simply by good association. Devotional service by self-realization is a different subject matter. It is untouched by fruitive activity, for one surrenders the results of activities to the Lord, abandons prescribed duties, and accepts the renounced order of life. Such devotional service is situated on a higher platform than that of empiric philosophical speculation with a mixture of bhakti. This is verified by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.11. Anyam abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render the transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Devotional activities, however, sometimes appear to be impure in the neophyte stage, but in the mature stage they are completely pure or free from material activity. Therefore, Rāmānanda Rāya replied after hearing the last statement of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, Prema Bhakti Sarva Sadhya Sar. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu actually accepted this verse, Jnane Prayasam, as the basic principle of perfection. One has to practice this principle in order to make further progress. When further progress is actually made, one comes to the platform of ecstatic loving service to the Lord. This first stage is technically called sadhana bhakti. So I'll repeat that. One has to practice this principle of jnane prayasam as the basic principle of perfection in order to make further progress. When further progress is actually made, one comes to the platform of ecstatic loving service to the Lord. This stage is technically called sadhana bhakti or devotional service in practice. The result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love, attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is also called prema bhakti. In the neophyte stage, sadhana bhakti includes faith, association with devotees, and practicing devotional service. Thus one is freed from all unwanted things. One then becomes fixed in devotional service and increases his desire to act in the devotional service. Thus one becomes attached to the Lord and his devotional service. Verse 69. Nano pachar krita pujanam art bandho prema naiva bhakta hridayam sukha vidrutam syat yavat kshud asti jathare jaratha pipasa tavat sukhaya bhavatu nanu bhakshya peye. Rāmānanda Rāya continued, as long as there is hunger and thirst within the stomach, varieties of food and drink can make one feel very happy. Similarly, when the Lord is worshipped with pure love, the various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken transcendental bliss in the heart of the devotee. Verse 70. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matih Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Api Labhyate Tatra Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukriter Na Labhyate. Pure devotional service and Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. Purport: the previous two verses are included in the Padyavali 13 and 14, an anthology compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Verse 69 refers to devotional service in faith, and verse 70 refers to devotional service rendered out of intense greed. The first is devotional service rendered in accordance with the regulative principles, and the second refers to spontaneous loving service of the Lord without extraneous endeavor. Henceforward, the basic principle underlying the talks between Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and Rāmānanda Rāya will be spontaneous loving service to the Lord. The regulative principles, according to the injunctions of the Shastras, are necessary insofar as one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is not spontaneously awakened. An example of spontaneous action is the flowing of rivers into the ocean. Nothing can stop this flow of water. Similarly, when one's dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened, it spontaneously flows to the lotus feet of Krishna without impediment. Whatever will be spoken henceforth by Rāmānanda Rāya based on spontaneous love will be agreeable to Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, and the Lord will ask him more and more about this subject. Verse 71, Prabhu kahe eho haya aage kahe aar, Rāya kahe dasya prema sarva sadhya sar. Hearing up to the point of spontaneous love, the Lord said, "This is all right, but if you know more, please tell me." Purport: in reply, Rāmānanda Rāya said, spontaneous loving service in servitude as exchanged by master and servant is the highest perfection. Spontaneous loving service to the Lord is called devotional service, with an intimate attachment between the servitor and the served. This intimacy is called mamata. Between the servitor and the served, there is a feeling of oneness. This mamata begins with dasya prem, service rendered to the master by the servant. Unless there is such a relationship, the loving affairs between the Lord and his devotee are not actually fixed. When the devotee feels the Lord is my master and renders service unto him, Krishna consciousness is awakened. This fixed consciousness is on a higher platform than simple cognizance of love of Godhead. Verse 72, Yana nama shruti matrena puman bhavati nirmalaha tasya tirtha padaha kim va dasanam avasishyate. A man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet create the holy places of pilgrimage. Therefore, what remains to be attained by those who have become his servants? Purport: this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.5.16 and is an admission by the great sage Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni, a caste Brahman and a great yogi, used to hate Maharaj Ambrish. When he decided to chastise Maharaj Ambrish through his yogic powers, he was chased by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When things were settled, he said, when the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is heard by any person, that person is immediately sanctified. The Supreme Lord is master of the devotees, and the devotees under his shelter naturally come to own his opulences. Verse 73, Bhavantam evanucharan nirantaraha prashant nishesh mano rathanataraha kadaham ekantika nitya kinkaraha praharshaishyami sanath jivitam. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage you as your permanent eternal servant and when shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? Purport: this is a statement made by the great saintly devotee Yamunacharya in his Stotra Ratna 43. Verse 74, Prabhu kahe eho haya kichu age aar, Rāya kahe sakhya prema sarva sadhya sar. Hearing this from Rāmānanda Rāya, the Lord again requested him to go a step further. In reply, Rāmānanda Rāya said, loving service to Krishna rendered in fraternity is the highest perfection. Purport: as long as loving service is rendered to the Lord In the master-servant relationship, there is some fear, for the servant is always afraid of the master despite the intimacy of self-interest. In this stage, the servant is always afraid of the master and respectful of him. When the devotee is further advanced, he has nothing to fear. He considers the Lord and himself on an equal level. At such time, the devotee is fully convinced that Lord Krishna is a friend and cannot at all be dissatisfied if the devotee lives with him on an equal level. This understanding is called Vishrambha, that is devoid of a respectful attitude. When this attitude is chosen, it becomes Sakhya Prem or love of Godhead in friendship. On this stage, there is developed consciousness of equality between the Lord and the devotee. Verse 75, Itham satam brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradevatane devatena maya shritanam nara darakena sardham vijruhu krita punya punjaha or punyaha. Neither those engaged in the self-realization of appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, nor those engaged in the devotional service while accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master, nor those under the clutches of Maya, thinking the Lord an ordinary person, can understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. Purport: this is a statement made by Shukadev Goswami. This is from Bhagavatam 10.12.11, who appreciated the good fortune of the cowherd boy who played with the Krishna and ate with him on the banks of the Yamuna. Verse 76, Prabhu kahe eho uttam age kah ar, Rāya kahe vatsalya prem sarva sadhe sar. The Lord said, this statement is very good, but please proceed even further. Purport: Rāmānanda Rāya then replied, loving service to the Lord in the parental relationship is the highest perfectional stage. The stage of loving service to the Lord in parental affection is an advanced stage of love in fraternity. In the fraternal relationship, there is a sense of equality, but when that sense of equality is advanced in affection, one attains the platform of parental love. In this connection, the following verse is cited from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.46, wherein Maharaj Parikshit voices his appreciation of Nanda Maharaj's and Mata Yashoda's intense love for Krishna. Verse 77, Nandaha kim akarod brahman shreya evam mahodayam Yashoda va mahabhaga papau yasyaha stanam harihe. Rāmānanda Rāya continued, O Brahman, what pious activities did Nanda Maharaj perform by which he received the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as his son, and what pious activities did Mother Yashoda perform that made the Absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna call her mother and Sakha breast. Verse 78, Nemam virincho na bhavo na shrir api anga samshraya prasadam lebhire gopi yat tat prapa vimukti dat. The favor Mother Yashoda obtained from Sri Krishna, the bestower of liberation, was never obtained even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, nor even by the goddess of fortune, who always remains on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Purport: this is a statement from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.20. Krishna agreed to be bound by Mother Yashoda after she had given up trying to bind Krishna with ropes. This is another appreciation made by Shukadev Goswami in his narration of the pastimes of Krishna before Maharaj Parikshit. Verse 79, Prabhu kahe eho uttam age kaha ar, Rāya kahe kanta prema sarva sadhya sar. The Lord said, your statements are certainly getting better and better, one after the other, but surpassing all of them is another transcendental mellow and you can speak of that as the most sublime. Purport Rāmānanda Rāya then replied, conjugal attachment for Krishna is the topmost position in the love of Godhead. In general, love of Godhead is devoid of the intimacy of ownership. In the case of love in servitude, there is a want of confidence. There is a want of increased affection in the fraternal relationship. And even when this affection increases in the parental relationship, there is nonetheless a want of complete freedom. However, when one becomes a conjugal lover of Krishna, everything lacking in the other relationships is completely manifest. Love of Godhead lacks nothing in the conjugal stage. The summary of this verse is that parental love of Godhead is certainly higher than fraternal love, and that conjugal love is higher yet. It was when Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu requested Rāmānanda Rāya to go further that he came to the point of conjugal relationship, which is the highest perfectional stage of transcendental love. Verse 80, Nayam Shriyo Anga Nitanta Rateha Prasadaha Swar Yoshitam Nalina Gandha Rucham Kuto Anyaha Rasotsave Asya Bhuja Danda Grihita Kantha Labdha Shisham Ya Udgad Vraja Sundarinam. When Lord Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Ras Lila, the gopis were embraced around the neck by the Lord's arms. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or other consorts in the spiritual world, nor as such a thing ever imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, whose bodily luster and aroma resemble the beauty and fragrance of lotus flower. And what to speak of worldly women who may be very, very beautiful according to material estimation. But this verse, Bhagavatam 10.47.60, was spoken by Uddhav when he visited Sri Vrindavan to deliver a message from Krishna to the gopis. Uddhav remained in Vrindavan to observe the activities of the gopis there. When he saw the ecstatic love for Krishna in separation manifested by the gopis, he appreciated their supreme love and therefore expressed his feelings in this verse. He admitted that fortune of the gopis could not be compared even to the fortune of the goddess of fortune, to say nothing of the beautiful girls in the heavenly planets. Verse 81, Tasam Avir Bhuj Chaurih Smaya Mana Mukhambhujaha Pitambara Dharaha Sragavi Sakshan Manmatha Manmathaha. Suddenly, due to the feelings of separation, Lord Krishna appeared among the gopis dressed in yellow garments and wearing a flower garland. His lotus face was smiling and he was directly attracting the mind of Cupid. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.32.2. When Rasa dance was going on, Krishna suddenly disappeared and the gopis became so overwhelmed due to his separation and their intense love for him that Krishna was obliged to appear again. Verse 82, Krishna Praptir Upay Bahu Vidha Haya Krishna Praptir Tartamya Bahuta Achaya. There are various means and processes by which one may attain the favor of Lord Krishna. All of those transcendental processes will be studied from the viewpoint of comparative importance. Verse 83, Kintu Yanra Yerasa Ise Sarvottama Tata Tatastaha Hena Vicharile Ache Tatama. It is true that whatever relationship a particular devotee has with the Lord is the best for him. Still, when we study all the different methods from a neutral position, we can understand that there are higher and lower degrees of love. Purport in this regard, Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that this verse does not advocate the whimsical invention of some methods of love of Godhead. Such inventions cannot be accepted as topmost. Indeed, such concoctions are not recommended in these verses. Srila Rupa Goswami has said in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.2.101, Shruti Smriti Purnadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina ekantiki harer bhaktir utpayaiva kalpate. He clearly mentions in this verse that one must refer to the Vedic literatures and other supplementary literatures and follow the conclusion of the Vedas. An invented devotional attitude simply creates disturbances in the transcendental realm. If a person overly addicted to the family life takes to Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna consciousness to earn a livelihood, his activity is certainly offensive. One should not become a caste guru and sell mantras for the benefit of the mundane customers, nor should one make disciples for a livelihood. All these activities are offensive. One should not make a livelihood by forming a professional band to carry out congregational chanting, nor should one perform devotional service when one is attached to the mundane society, friendship and love. Nor one should be dependent on so-called social etiquette. All of this is mental speculation. None of these things can be compared to unalloyed devotional service. No one can compare unalloyed devotional service, Krishna consciousness to mundane activities. There are many unauthorized parties pretending to belong to Sri Caitanya cult, and some are known as Aula, Baula, Karta, Bhaja, Neda, Darvesh, Sani, Sahajya, Sakhi Bheki, Smartha, Jat Gosani, Ativadi, Chudadhari and Gauranga Nagari. Moreover, there are those who take the caste Goswamis' opinions of such parties as bona fide, comparing these opinions to those of the 6 Goswamis headed by Shri Rupa and Shri Sanatan. This is simply another cheating process. There are also non-devotees who compose unauthorized songs, who establish different temples for money, who worship the deity as priests for salaries, who accept caste Brahmanism as all in all, and who do not know the value of pure Vaishnav. Actually, the caste Brahmins and the Smart community are opposed to the principles of Satvata Pancharatra. Furthermore, there are many Mayavadis and those overly addicted to material sense enjoyment. None of these can be compared to a person who is purely engaged in the preaching Krishna consciousness. Every Krishna conscious person is constantly endeavoring to utilize different transcendental devices in the service of the Lord. Such a devotee renounces all the material enjoyment and completely dedicates himself to the service of the spiritual master and Lord Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. He may be a perfect celibate, a restrained householder, a regulated Vanaprastha, or a Tridandi sannyasi in the renounced order. It doesn't matter. The pseudo-transcendentalists and the pure devotees cannot be compared, nor can one argue that a person can invent his own way of worship. The purport in presenting this verse necessitates explaining the comparative positions of the transcendental mellows known as Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. All these rasas or mellows are situated on the transcendental platform. Pure devotees take shelter of one of them and thus progress in spiritual life. Actually, one can take shelter of such spiritual mellows only when one is completely uncontaminated by material attachment. When one is completely free from material attachment, the feelings of the transcendental mellows are awakened in the heart of the devotee. That is Swarup Siddhi, the perfection of one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Swarupa Siddhi, the eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, may be situated in any one of the transcendental mellows. Each and every one of them is as perfect as the others, but by the comparative study, an unbiased person can realize that the mellow of servitorship is better than the mellow of neutrality, that the mellow of fraternity is better than mellow of servitorship, that the parental mellow is better than fraternity, and that above all mellows is the mellow of conjugal love. However, there are spiritually situated. These are all spiritually situated on the same platform because all these relationships of perfection in love are based on a central point, Krishna. These mellows cannot be compared to the feelings one derives from the demigod worship. Krishna is one, but the demigods are different. They are material. Love for Krishna cannot be compared to material love for different demigods. Because Mayavadis are on the material platform, they recommend the worship of Shiva or Durga and say that worship of Kali and Krishna are the same. However, on the spiritual platform, there is no demigod worship. The only worshipable object is Krishna. Therefore, although there is no difference between a devotee in Shantaras or Dasyaras, Vatsalyaras or Madhuriras, one can still make a comparative study of the intensity of love in these different transcendental positions. For example, it may be said that Dasyaras is better than Shantaras, yet transcendental love of God is there in both of them. Similarly, we can judge that the love of Godhead in fraternity is better than the love of Godhead in neutrality and servitorship. Similarly, love of Godhead in parental affection is better than the love in fraternity. And as stated before, love of God in the conjugal rasa is superior to that in the parental rasa. The analysis of different types of love of Godhead has been made by expert acharyas who know all about devotional service on the transcendental platform. Unfortunately, inexperienced and unauthorized persons in the mundane world do not understanding the transcendental position of your love, try to find some material fault in the transcendental process. This is simply impudence on the part of spiritually inexperienced people. Such fault finding is symptomatic of unfortunate mundane wranglers. Verse 84, Yatho taram asau swada vishesholasa mai apiratir vasanya swadvi bhasate kapi kashyachit. Increasing love is experienced in various tastes, one above another, but that love which has the highest taste in the gradual succession of desires manifests itself in the form of conjugal love. Purport. This verse is from Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.5.38, and it also appears in the Adi Lila chapter 4 verse 45. Verse 85. Purva Purva Rasera Guna Pare Pare Haya Dui Tina Ganane Pancha Paryanta Badya. There is a gradual order of improvement in transcendental mellows from the initial ones to the later ones. In each subsequent mellow, the qualities of the previous mellows are manifested, counting from 1, 2, and 3 and up to the point of 5 complete qualities. Verse 86. Gunadhikye swadadhikya bade prati rase shant dasya sakhya vatsalera guna madhurite vaise. As the qualities increase, so the taste also increases in each and every mellow. Therefore, the qualities found in Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakhyaras and Vatsalaras are all manifested in conjugal love, Madhuriras. Verse 87. Akash adira gunayena para para bhute dui teen krame bade panch prithivite. The qualities in the material element sky, air, fire, water and earth increases one after another by a gradual process of 1, 2 and 3, and at the last stage in the element earth all 5 qualities are completely visible. Verse 88. Paripurna Krishna prapti e prema haite e premar vasha Krishna kahe bhagavate. Complete attainment of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna is made possible by love of Godhead, specifically Madhuriras or conjugal love. Lord Krishna is indeed captivated by this standard of love. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Purport. To explain the topmost quality of conjugal love, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives the example of material elements Sky, air, fire, water and earth. In the sky or the space there is the quality of sound. Similarly, in the air there are qualities of sound and touch. In fire there are 3 qualities: sound, touch and form. In water there are 4 qualities: sound, touch, form and taste. Finally, in earth there are all 5 qualities: sound, touch, form, taste and also smell. Now one can see that the quality of sky is in all, namely in the air, fire, water and earth. In earth we can find all the qualities of the material nature. The same can be applied to the rasa known as Madhurya Ras or conjugal love. In conjugal love there are the qualities of neutrality, servitorship, fraternity and parental affection, as well as those of conjugal love itself. The conclusion is that therefore conjugal love, the love of Lord, is completely satisfied. Conjugal love or the Madhurya Ras is also known as Sringar Ras. It is the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam that in the complete combination of loving service to the Lord, namely in conjugal love, the Supreme Lord fully agrees to be under the control of the devotee. The highest form of conjugal love is represented by Srimati Radharani. Therefore, in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, we can see that Krishna is always subjugated by Srimati Radharani's influence. So, verse 89, Mai bhakti hi bhutanam amrita tvaya kalpate dishtya yad asin mat sneho bhavati na mad apanaha. Lord Krishna told the gopis, the meaning of attaining my favor is loving service unto me, and fortunately you are all thus engaged. Those living beings who render service unto me are eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world and attain eternal life with knowledge and bliss. Purport: the fulfillment of human life is summarized in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.82.44. There are 2 important words in this verse: bhakti, that is devotional service, and amritatva, which is eternal life. The aim of human life is to attain the natural position of eternal life. This eternal life can be achieved only by devotional service. So we'll continue our reading from verse number 90 next time. And we've heard all the 5 rasas have been described, and devotional service is the highest. It's been stressed again and again in the verses. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.